All right, all right. Welcome to another episode of Black People Kind of News. Welcome to the show. Make sure you guys hit the like button. Make sure you guys tap the stream. Make sure you guys share the stream. Make sure you guys leave a comment. Make sure you guys engage because I do the show for the people. Let's get into it. Our first news story, man. It's going to be wild. They are already starting up, folks. Even though their leader, Enrique Tarrio, is behind bars, we have news that the alt-right Proud Boys are targeting Juneteenth this year, expert warns. Wow. Quote, the Proud Boys whisperer, end quote, says they are planning to appropriate the celebration of the end of slavery. Wow. Oh, now we're cooking, folks. Now all the things that people like me, Tariq Nasheed, Professor Black Truth, the Black Authority, Jason Black, Philip Scott, Lisa Cabrera, Vicky Dillard, so many others have been saying for the longest time, hey, wake up, call for an anti-black hate crime bill. Hey, don't ignore this stuff. Hey, this ain't about your feelings. Hey, this ain't about how much you love the Democrats. Hey, this ain't about how much you love a political interest. It's about keeping you safe. And maybe this will put a face to it for you. Because for some people, some black folks, they gotta see the boogeyman in order to take the boogeyman seriously. Right? So I wanna get into this for here because this here is crazy. On the heels that the Proud Boys are planning disruptive protests during the Pride month of June, the counter-extremist expert Samantha Kuttner warns us that the alt-right group is specifically targeting Juneteenth celebrations as well. In an attempt to appropriate the federal holiday celebrating the end of slavery, the Proud Boys are organizing their own event on June 17th, expanding their vitriol to not just LGBTQ discrimination, but also white supremacy. Wow. So basically, the Proud Boys are planning to disrupt Juneteenth. That's their plan. If this is actually accurate. If this is true, their plan is to disrupt Juneteenth. Quote, they target everyone who doesn't belong to their in-group, end quote. Kuttner explained to LGBTQ Nation in a recent interview. Quote, their extremism is framed as an assertion of their masculinity. Anything that is a perceived threat to that is a target, end quote. Wow. Yeah. Kuttner's insights on this organization stem from her access to the Proud Boys' encrypted networks, such as Telegram, her first-person experiences dealing with its members, as well as her work as co-founder and chief intelligence officer of the counter-extremism consulting firm Glitter Pill LLC. This expertise has earned her the moniker the Proud Boys Whisperer. That's interesting. So, Proud Boys plan on disrupting Juneteenth. That's some interesting news. Black folks. Interesting news, black folks. Real fascinating news. And I want to do some updates to some stories that we've been covering, right? Because there's some things that we've been covering that we want to make sure that we do cover. Right? Like, here's one story that I've been wanting to cover. I want to go ahead and put that news out there so that you guys will know that the alt-right apparently are targeting Juneteenth. And these people are master infiltrators, right? They will use any face, even Enrique Tarrio, clearly ain't white, but they will use him to push their message. And this is why I tell black folks, just because someone's black, that don't mean you just listen to him. Look, even me, if I'm putting out content that you don't think is for you, judge me, that's cool, but judge me based on the content. Right? People like me, it's hard to judge based on the content. It's easy to judge based on a feeling or preconceived notion or a beef. Right? My thing is, it's just, with this kind of stuff, this whole black and brown coalition, right? It's just amazing to me how you have people still pushing this black and brown coalition and how we have all these allies, right? And I'm not saying that you can't have friends who are non-black. I'm not even saying you can't date them. I'm not even saying you can't have children by them. I did. But what I'm saying is there's a difference between that and including them in your political organizations, your political activism, your revolutionary organizations, your underground organizations. There is listen, a man who marries a woman can actually marry that woman and not be involved in that woman's feminist activities or her feminist organizations. In the same light, you can be around people who are not black. You just don't bring them into your organizations. Because as you can see, a lot of these people who we call allies aren't really allies. So my thing is that we have a thing in the black community, whereas it's totally fine for you to make a business deal, constantly buy from a business that is not black. But anyone who associates with a non-black person in a way that you don't like, then you suddenly crucify that person, right? But then we still have these people who push these coalitions that are non-existent. Enrique Tarrio was the leader of the Proud Boys, right? So how did the black and brown coalition work out there? It didn't. But as soon as you say that, it's just like people automatically crucify you without even listening to the whole story. Yeah, I sound angry, but why am I angry? Right? But we're going to leave that one alone. We want to cover more stories today. Hey, guys, make sure you guys are sharing the content, right? Because I want other people to know that I actually run live shows like this where I do live videos. I don't just do standalone videos. I can do what I do live, right? I don't need a script. I can do it live. Let's move on to the next story here. This comes from the International Business Times, right? This story is about a former Mississippi cop who fatally shot a black teenager because the black teenager was dating his daughter and he didn't like the relationship. And now we have an update to that case. We know who that cop is, right? But the young black man who was shot was Cornelius McGee Jr., 15 years old. The father returned home where he was home with the daughter. And the police officer fatally shot the young man. So, a lot of people didn't know who this cop was. We now know. His name is Andrew Bankhead. The former cop who shot Cornelius McGee Jr. in the back. Fatally shot him over a relationship with his daughter that he did not approve of. We now know who this officer is. We now know who he is. And that's the thing, right? We have this thing where as soon as we get a young black man who is shot by the police, shot by a random bystander, choked out by a random bystander, it doesn't matter, right? The first thing that we do is look to blame the victim. It's like, I want to return back to a story that I covered yesterday. But the young man who was shot in the back by a business owner in Columbia, South Carolina, where I'm from. In fact, I don't have a tab open with that one, so look it up real quick. See, I want to return back to that story and kind of cross-referencing, right? So as you can see, there appears to be this pattern, this air, where it doesn't matter what color you are. You could be black as well. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if a store owner, like here in Columbia, South Carolina, a man named Rick Chow, Asian store owner who owned a Shell gas station on Park Lane Road in Columbia, South Carolina, fatally shot Cyrus Carmack Belton in the back because he thought he was stealing a bottle of water. And it turns out, after the authorities looked at the actual video, the boy was not stealing water. The store owner just chased him for like no reason, and that's why the store owner has been charged with murder. See? And you cross-reference that back to this story here. How you got a police officer fatally shoots this young man, Cornelius McGee Jr., just because he was dating his daughter and he didn't like it. See? This cop here. This cop here. Wow. 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 It was a kid, yeah. And what you're seeing, black parent, what you're seeing, black man, what you're seeing, black woman, what you're seeing, you know, person who may not be black but is married to a black person, dating a black person adopted you, a black person is your friend. Even if you're not black and you're watching this, what you're seeing is an air of violence towards particularly the young black man. If you're a person who is not black and you're married to a black person, if you're a person who is not black and you have a child by a black person, your child is black, you should care. You have skin in this game if you care about them. You have skin in this game if you care about your loved ones. If you are a black person and you are not on code, if you are not already awakened, what is wrong with you? I don't care if you're a black LGBT. I don't care if you're black and in an interracial relationship. I don't care if you're black and you're in a black relationship. I don't care if you're black and you're single. I don't care if you're black and you're rich. I don't care if you're black and you're poor. I don't care if you're black and you live on the freaking West Coast, East Coast, North, South. It don't matter. I don't care if you live on the moon. Wake up. There are folks out here who believe that their low numbers are a threat to them. And so they've accelerated some of their violence towards black men in particular, because when you attack the men in any community, you attack the pillar. Not saying that women can't be a pillar. I'm saying when you're talking about fighting back, resisting, you need your men. It's much easier to resist with them. They're targeting our young men. Not saying that they don't target young women, but they're making it a point to go after young black men. They're making it a point now. They're making it a point. I want to show you another story, right? This story here. 11-year-old boy shot by a police officer, right? Shot by a police officer when he called the cops. He was unarmed. Adrian Murray, 11 years old. He says on camera, "I want you fired. I want you terminated." That's what he says to the cop. He was interviewed on CNN. 11-year-old Adrian Murray told CNN what he said to the cop who shot him on site after he called 911 for help. Quote, "I want you terminated for what you did to me." End quote. This young boy is more on code than most of the people that I see in the so-called, black sphere. Because you got people out there like Botham John's family. They're in Texas. Botham John was a black man who was fatally shot by a police officer named Amber Geiger. And they gave Amber Geiger, I think, 10 years. I think it was like 8 years or maybe like 10 years. And I think that she got out early. In fact, I know she got out early. And the family, the brother of Botham John, gave Amber Geiger a hug. And the judge gave her a hug. And they were all crying, and the judge gave her a Bible. So this is where you get the infamous hug in a two-piece. That's where you get that whole phrase from, or deviations of that phrase. That's where it comes from. Because of the Amber Geiger nonsense. You even got recently the so-called sister of George Floyd saying, oh, I forgive Derek Chauvin. Derek Chauvin is still saying that he didn't do it. And you talk about forgiving this man? Black folks, we got to get out of this habit of talking about forgiveness. This young 11-year-old boy, Adrian Murray, has more bravery than a lot of these so-called black men that I see in the black community. Absolutely. No question. No question. And the thing is, it's like we have this thing where we want to always forgive people. We always want to forgive people. We got to stop doing that. Listen, when Kyrie Irving shared a tweet, right? No one was talking about forgiveness. Jonathan Majors has only been accused of stuff. No one's talking about forgiveness. No one. Look at how many black celebrities have merely been accused of stuff. No one's talking about forgiveness. Ime Udoka was the head coach of the Boston Celtics, brought the Boston Celtics to the finals. The year after they actually fired this man, they miss out on the finals. That's kind of hilarious to me, but whatever. This man, I understand, he was dating Nia Long, and you shouldn't cheat on Nia Long. I get that. She's beautiful. I get it. He's messing around with a married woman who was a wife of a Boston Celtics executive. And with nobody talking about forgiveness. Nobody was talking about forgiving Ime Udoka. Nobody was talking about forgiving, anybody who's black who even slightly offends them. Ime Udoka wasn't even married to Nia Long. The white woman was married and she faced no consequences. If you even went on sports media and you even mentioned the fact that she should also face the same consequences based on her being married and knowing that this man was dating Nia Long and knowing that he was a co-worker, if you merely said that, you had cries of sexism. If you merely mentioned that. But you got black folks talking about forgiveness. For what? Forgiveness. Are you mad? You got a young black man, Cornelius McGee Jr., fatally shot by a police officer because he was dating the police officer's daughter and the police officer didn't like it. Oh, he took down his Facebook page. Andrew Bankhead, yeah, fatally shot this young man because he did not want this young man to date his daughter. Well, I guess what, Andrew Bankhead, when you get behind bars, you're gonna be dating somebody too. So don't you worry about nobody else dating life. You better worry about your own in the freaking lockup, baby. No. That's crazy to me. People always expect forgiveness from the black community, but when it comes to us, right? No one's talking about forgiveness. The only thing that we get as a response, hate crime bills for other communities, money given to other communities while we are being taxed. We get 1994 crime bills. We get mass incarceration. We get stop and frisk. Right? We get mass incarceration based on false charges that leads to black men being the number one exonerated demographic in the country by a mile in multiple categories. In fact, in almost every category, even categories where it doesn't make sense that we would actually lead in, we're being exonerated for. Most of the crimes that we're being exonerated from, I'm not going to get into detail because we know some of those are pretty heavy, right? But it's almost like society is trying to project onto us what their men do. Because I'm going to say the types of crimes that we are usually exonerated for, like, young black man who hangs around young lady get accused of something and it not be true. Those kind of exonerations. Actually, if you look at the actual numbers, the criminal justice numbers, it's actually white men who lead in those categories. So I wonder if that whole mass incarceration thing, having black men locked up on false charges, I wonder if that's like a large societal way of projecting. I don't know. You tell me. I don't know. You tell me. Let's read some comments here. Cool Green Bean says racism, colorism, sexism, and classism are all products of capitalism. You can see that outside of capitalism, man. You know, don't you let those communists and socialists fool you. Now, I'm not saying that they're bad people. I'm not even saying that I don't believe in some of their ideologies. I'm saying that do not think that there's none within their ranks too. It's not capitalism that is the root of that. Especially not white supremacy. White supremacy existed long before capitalism. Long before. That is not even, you know. Mega Light Jack says, why are we always expected to forgive? We are. I don't know why. Shane says we will see if they still forgive them when they put us in a concentration. Some folks will, man. If you look back during freaking slavery, right? You had folks like that. I'm telling you. Karen Green says they are not warriors. Absolutely. The people who are cowards who shoot at teenagers are not warriors. They are cowards. Shane says our nation is so simple. Absolutely. Karen Green says soldiers and warriors are here. If our president won't acknowledge these situations, we will. Absolutely. Cool Green Bean says he's legit brave. Talk about the little 11-year-old boy. Absolutely, he is. Right. Let's move on here. So we're gonna get into some more stories here. I want to cover some more stories, guys. Make sure you share the stream. Make sure you guys are leaving likes. Make sure you guys are leaving comments. Make sure you share it on every social media platform that you have: Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. Make sure you share it on Reddit. Make sure you share it on Instagram, Pinterest. Share it on Rumble. Share it everywhere that you could possibly share it on. And make sure you also do me a biggest favor in the world. Make sure you share this live stream in particular, because I want to start a new show, and this show is going to be called Black People's Kind of News. You know, it's news for black people, but if you're non-black and you listen, you happen to get some game here, cool. That's fine too. I can live with that. But it's a show that's geared towards black people and kind of news that they want to hear. Like the 3 stories that I just covered, the ones that I actually brought up. 11-year-old boy, this one here, and what happened to the other young man, Cornelius. These are the kind of stories that black people care about. And I don't think a lot of people out there are doing live shows where you're doing stuff like this. Where you have people out there who's going to take time out of their day to give you the news that I think you should care about. And if you don't agree that these are the kind of stories that you care about, hey, give me suggestions. I'll cover them. And I'll give you my take and give you some background, because I happen to know a lot. I don't know everything, but I know a lot about a lot of these cases. So we're going to move on to the next story here. This next story is going to be interesting. I want to really hear you guys' take on this, right? So, this is coming from Mogul Domination, right? Black Chicago group calls for boycotting Biden vote, holding America hostage. Whoa. Things getting serious in Chicago. What's happening is you have a lot of people who are undocumented, who are coming through Chicago, and a lot of the black residents there. It's not that they are going against the undocumented people. They are saying that, hey, we've been ignored for the longest time. You know, you're getting a lot of resources for those people who are not citizens. Things that we've been asking for, like group homes and more resources for the homeless, you know, more food resources, you know, more childcare resources, you know, more housing, more medical care, you know, more consideration for political power. A lot of those things you're giving to people who are not even citizens. And this is why you're getting a lot of black people in Chicago in particular who are just upset right now. They are just fed up. They done. They saying, hey, we done, boss. We done, boss. We done. We done. And folks don't want to listen to them. You know, folks don't want to hear them out. And I think that's a massive mistake. If you're looking at the black population in Chicago, it is a massive mistake to ignore those, to sit back and ignore those folks. It's a massive mistake. One of the Democrat Party's biggest fears, losing the black vote, may be closer to coming true. Slowly over the last few years, the DNC has been losing black voters, as some black voters complain that the party does not appreciate their continued support and has not pursued policies that would benefit the black community. Now a black group in Chicago is calling for an outright boycott of voting to re-elect President Joe Biden in the 2024 elections. This is written by Ann Brown of Domination, published on May 30th. Yesterday. Let's get into the story. Cool Green Bean says that is the game. Cause division between the races so we don't unite. Man, I gotta tell you, division comes when we've been asking for reparations and for an anti-black hate crime bill and all kinds of things, and people just don't want to give it to us, man. It's just we've been so loyal to the Democratic Party, and yet what have we gotten for that loyalty? People are like, well, what about Republicans? We don't vote for Republicans. Why am I going to hold Republicans to a figure standard when I don't give them anything? I don't expect anything from them because I don't give them anything. I don't vote for them either. See, if you're a woman being hit by your boyfriend, you can't come back to me and say, well, her other boyfriend did the same thing. It's still abuse. I don't care which direction it's coming from. It's still, you are neglecting my community while collecting our tax dollars. That's neglect. That is a form of anti-black racism. That is abuse of my people. And I don't tolerate that. That makes me upset. As soon as I see my people being neglected and ignored, my reaction is that, excuse me, why am I paying taxes then? Why am I being taxed when I'm getting the least out of it? Why am I voting when I'm getting the least out of it? Why am I going into your system when I get the least out of it? You tell us, what, you're only 12, 13% of the population. Well, the Asian community is only like, what, 7 or 8? Maybe 6. And they've gotten all kinds of things. Executive orders, anti-black hate crime bills, you name it. The boycott of the 2024 election was conceived by a local activist and performer, Dennis Pitts. He told the Chicago Crusader that he launched the campaign because he believes black people are on a path towards alienation. We must weaponize our vote because it's one of the only tools left in the toolbox that can facilitate change, Pitts said. We cannot protest each individual incident of racial harm because over time their actions become tiring. Plus, the establishment has already put measures in place to deal with civil unrest under the guise of curbing domestic terrorism. Wow. Yeah, absolutely. Pitts may have tapped into a movement. According to a recent New York Times report, black voter frustration is bubbling over. In fact, the share of black voters in the electorate decreased by 1% nationwide from 2018 to 2022, the newspaper reported. This marks the biggest drop of any racial group measured. Meanwhile, the share of white, college-educated voters increased. I want to look at that New York Times report. Yeah, I've already went over this report, but I want to go back over it. I want to go to archive.is. Let me show y'all something real quick. When you want to archive something, always go to archive.is. I'm pretty sure this has already been archived. Yeah. It's coming from the New York Times. As Biden runs again, black voters' frustration bubbles. In interviews, black voters, organizers, and officials pointed to what some saw as unkept promises, raising questions about the enthusiasm of Democrats' most loyal voters. Black people, we are the most loyal voters to Democrats, but we get the least out of it. The least out of it, man. President Biden began his re-election campaign this week, vowing to finish the job he started in 2021. No one wants him to do that more than black voters. This is published back in April 29th of this year, right? Long the most loyal Democratic constituency, black voters resurrected Mr. Biden's struggling presidential campaign in South Carolina and sent him to the White House. With this party in control of the Senate after 2 runoff victories in Georgia. In return, they hoped the administration would go beyond past presidents in trying to improve their communities, and they listened closely to the promises to do so. Yet some of the black voters' biggest policy priorities, stronger federal protections against voting rights, against laws that would attack our voting rights, student loan debt relief, and criminal justice and police accountability measures, and also reparations. Don't you let them leave that out. Reparations as well have failed or stalled. Some because of Republican opposition, and some because Democrats have declined to bypass the Senate's filibuster rules. Those disappointments, highlighted in the interviews with more than 36 black voters, organizers, and officials in recent weeks, leave open the question of just how enthusiastic Democrats' most important group of voters will be in 2024. So basically, we are getting off. I'm not going to say what it is because I know it's been appropriated, right? But we are upset. We are upset. And all the attacking people like me that say stuff like this, it's only going to make it worse. Address our concerns. That's how you make this better. Actually give us tangible things, not promises. At this point, we want action, not promises. Well, you just got to vote for us. No. I'll vote for whoever gives black people reparations. Cash. Karen Green says, we vote for equality. Absolutely. Karen Green also says, America is no democracy. We won't vote for that. Absolutely. If you want my vote, give my folks something. Give us cash reparations. Give us an anti-black hate crime bill. Give us something for black businesses, black farmers, black veterans. If you feel, I tell you what, you start with reparations, and you give us 2 of those other 3 things that I just mentioned. Or those other 4, and you have my vote. I don't care what side does it. I don't care who you are. If you get us that, you got my vote. Until then, no. I can't vote for Joe Biden. I can't vote for another Democrat. Not until you do right by my people. And Republicans, you ain't doing nothing, so guess what? I'm not voting for you either. Not until you do right by my people. I ain't playing. And yes, biggest thing. Karen Green says, no qualified immunity cops have to be charged as citizens are. Absolutely. Yeah. You didn't defund the police. You didn't bring about police accountability. You didn't get rid of qualified immunity. You said, hey, I think we all should agree. We shouldn't defund the police. We should fund the police. In fact, I want to look that up real quick. I want to play that because you get these Biden people who pop up here, right? I want it. I want to play that real quick because people love to lie. Let me just go ahead and hush them up real quick.
When it comes to public safety in this nation, the answer is not defund the police. It's fund the police.
Oh,
fund the police.
He said something very, very interesting. I want y'all to hear that one more time now. Cause maybe my ears messed up. I want y'all to listen to what this man just said, right?
When it comes to public safety in this nation, the answer is not defund the police. It's fund the police.
Oh.
Fund the police.
Fund the police. Okay.
And give them.
We
expect them to do everything.
Right. We expect them to do everything except for protect people because they're not legally, required to even do so. And I want you to notice, right? You see maybe 1-2 black people in the back. Look at how many Hispanic and white people you got. How many white women you got lined up all back here. See that? See? These are your liberals. Cops are lined up behind this man. Lined up behind this man. Right? Behind this man. I want you to hear this.
Fund them.
I want you to hear this.
To defund the. I'll agree. The answer is not. Some trauma, and giving young people some hope.
Mm-hmm.
We should all agree. The answer is not to defund the police. It's to fund the police.
Oh, so I want you to notice, right? Notice how Nancy Pelosi and Kamala Harris in the background. I want you to notice what they do. I want you to notice what Jim Clyburn, Congressman Jim Clyburn, he's in this video. I want you to see how he's clapping. Right?
Violence and trauma,
mm-hmm.
giving young people some hope. We should all agree. The answer is not to defund the police.
Mm-hmm.
It's to fund the police. Fund them.
Oh.
Fund them. Fund them with resources and training. Resources and training they need to protect our communities.
Wow. So he didn't say defund the police. He didn't say get rid of qualified immunity. He didn't say any of that. He said the answer is to fund the police. The answer is to fund the police, huh? Oh, man. That is fascinating because all the Biden people said that he didn't say that. That's what he said, right? So how is it we have two separate realities? How is that possible? How is that possible? Wow. We shouldn't defund the police. We should fund the police. All right, Biden. All right there, Jim Crow Joe. I hear you. Let's get back to this article, though. This is why this is happening in Chicago. You're getting an influx of undocumented people in Chicago, and they're being put into the black community, and the black people are not taking it. We're sick of that. We're not saying that we are against undocumented people. We are saying, right? We are saying put them in the white communities. And once that starts happening, suddenly you'll start seeing the border closed. You got to open borders because you could just shove them into the black community. See, a lot of people say, "Oh, no borders." I guarantee you, the vast majority of those people are not living in communities that are being flooded with them. Because white people are complaining about, "Oh, they're flooding our communities with these people." They're lying. They're not flooding white communities with them. They're flooding our communities with them. Let's keep it a buck. Someone said, what about the non-citizens becoming police officers? Yeah. Non-citizens voting. Sorry, my compassion, it has a limit. My people had to fight for that right. And now you're going to just bring somebody over who's not even a citizen and just have... No. I'm off the train there. Sorry. You're not going to sit here and get my people who had German Shepherds and Rottweilers and water cannons and police officers and firemen and racist mobs sicked on them to get those rights. And now you're going to have somebody who's a non-citizen just hop the fence and now all of a sudden I'm supposed to be doggone just cool with that? If you're a citizen, okay, you are a freaking citizen. If you're not a citizen, hold on, you don't just vote. There's black folks right now who were arrested just for having a little bit of that green stuff, right? That's actually legal in a whole lot of places, and they're still trying to expunge their records and still can't vote. You're gonna bring somebody who's not a citizen, shove them into our black communities, and then have them vote, and then think that we're not gonna have anything to say about it? Are you out of your mind? People have no idea the levels of disrespect we have allowed in the black community. But let me go ahead and make myself perfectly crystal clear. That disrespect has to stop. Because we ain't just taking it no more. You shoved a bunch of undocumented people into Chicago neighborhoods. You didn't put them in white neighborhoods. You put them in black neighborhoods that are already deprived of resources, that are already economically deprived, that are already looking for a way out. And you're trying to force them out, using other groups to do that, knowing well those groups have anti-black racists within their ranks as well. That's why you have the number one group who's a member of these deputy gangs, Latino men. Most of the heads of the landmark white supremacist groups, Latino men. Stephen Rose, his mama was Mexican. Enrique Tarrio. The list goes on and on. So you shove those people without even checking if they have any of those type of mentalities and freaking attitudes. You shove them into our communities. You don't shove them into white communities. And now you expect us to just take it. We are tired of taking everyone else's trash. You gotta skip past Texas and a whole lot of majority white states to get up to black neighborhoods in Chicago. Strange how that happens. And did you not notice how Texas Governor Greg Abbott, he took those people over to not just Lori Lightfoot, because he said, oh, I'm transferring the people, I'm busing them from Texas to Chicago because Lori Lightfoot, she criticized me. No. Lori Lightfoot was also the mayor of some white areas. He didn't drop them off at the white areas though. Black areas. A lot of people criticize Greg Abbott. He didn't drop them off at those white areas though, because Greg Abbott is a racist and he's on code. See, that's the whole thing, man. Like we are tired of this stuff. We are tired of taking everyone else's people because you see us as these arbiters of charity, and yet you'll turn around and says, oh, you guys have to calm down. Black men need therapy and the black family just need this. Excuse me. You gonna sit here and dump a bunch of people into our communities and then also give us moral lectures? You can shut the hell up. If we are so lacking in morals and so awful, right? If we are so awful, then let us be awful. Let us be immoral then. And don't shove those people into our communities. Shove them into your moral field communities, your white Christian loving communities. Shove them there because you say that we're violent. You say Chicago is so bad, it's so violent. Well, put them in your safe white neighborhoods then. How about that? But you ain't doing that. You ain't doing that. See? This is white supremacy trying to control the narrative while taking none of the damage. You tell the black community that our children are out of control. You tell the black community that our women are bad. You say the black community that our men are bad. But then you always expect for us to take care of every other community that you don't want in your neighborhood. That's how we get Asian businesses in our neighborhood. That's how we get Hispanic business in our neighborhood. That's how we get Jewish communities in our community. That's how we get Jewish business in our community. We let them in because we are charitable people, and then people get to taking us for granted, and then expecting us to keep taking in everybody else's trash. Our charity has a limit. I almost said something else. Our charity has a limit. You don't want to pay reparations. You fund the prison industrial complex. You fund the racist police officers. You know you got deputy gangs. You know you got racist cops. You know you got cops who have committed serious, heinous crimes, who have gotten probation, who are free right now. You know you got cops who have taken the lives of family members across this country for the longest time. You know the condition of black veterans. You know the condition of black farmers. You know the condition of the average black family right now with inflation. You know all these things. But instead of funding things to help the black community, instead of paying your debts, paying reparations to the black descendants of American slaves, instead of paying your debts, paying us what's due, your blood debt, your blood oath, you fund every single thing that is against us. And then on top of that, you want us to be charitable as well. To hell with that. To hell with that. No. If you're so concerned about the undocumented, put them in your communities. I'm saying that. I said it. Because I guarantee that the average white person crying about this, they're not in their communities. They're not. They're just not. Black folks, we gotta learn to start valuing ourselves as a community now. We gotta learn to quit taking everybody else's trash. We gotta learn to quit doing that. Shout out to this brother. Shout out to this brother. What's this brother's name is again? Dennis Pitts. Shout out to this brother. Dennis Pitts. Shout out to that brother. Because we have got to stop taking everybody else's trash, man. We have got to learn to stand for ourselves. We have got to learn to act like every other group. This is why every time that we act like a Jewish community or Asian community or Hispanic community, everyone says, are you going to use the tools of white supremacy? That's freaking divisive. Oh, you guys shouldn't do that. You don't want to be like those other folks, right? False comparisons, gaslighting. I'm sick of that. Aren't you, black folks? I'm sick of that. Oh, listen, if you are in another country going through something, I feel for you. But after Ukraine, after the freaking rush, at the freaking border, shoving all those people into our communities, I'm all patience out, man. No. My folks, pay reparations. Fix these race soldiers. Give us an anti-black hate crime bill. Help a black business. Give us the same interest-free loans you gave to the white slave owners and the racist white people. Listen, all the things that you're offering in lieu of reparations, we want reparations and that. Everything that you're offering in lieu of cash reparations, we want cash reparations and everything else that you're offering in lieu of it. All of it. Well, can it be that or this? How about this? All of it. All of it. Anyways, guys, it's going to be it for my show today. This has been episode 2 of Black People's Kind of News. If you guys like the show, let me know in the comments, man. If you guys love this show, let me know in the comments. I'm going to keep the same energy, man. Same energy every episode. Right? I've stepped out of politics for the longest time. I didn't want to comment too much on politics. I wanted to do the whole bad cop thing. And, do the whole bad cop news thing. And I'm still going to do that. But I'm going to be a lot more politically involved. I want to be more politically involved. Because what's going on right now, it can't continue, man. I got kids. This can't continue. And I know I got a whole lot of influence. I know that on certain platforms, if I put out a certain video, it can get like 1 million views. I get that. So now I'm going to use my influence and use my voice to do what has to be done and actually stomp and advocate for my people. That's my role here. And that's what I'm going to do. Till next time, horns up. Peace out. Good light. Good night and good luck.